In this video, we're going to look into some of the other attributes that are found over this side for the brushes. I'm going to again open the light box and get a polysphere. And create a polysphere, press comma to hide the light box. Hold down the Option key, right click. Sorry, that's why I didn't want to do that. So I have to press T to edit. I forgot that. So press T to edit and Control N to clear out everything else. So Option key, right click to pan. Option key, right click and let go of the Option key to zoom in. Right click, hold down the Shift key, and now I can line up this straight front. So what do we have here? We have the standard brush selected, and we have its type of stroke. Let's use some other brush. Let's go ahead and use the clay buildup. Notice that the clay buildup not only it has a different kind of setup. It has a brush alpha attached to it. So basically, what I'm doing here is this is a very like adding material, like adding digital clay on this. And it's very sharp actually. It's actually taking chunks of clay and adding them on the surface. Now this sphere is a little bit low res, so I'm going to press a couple of times Control D to duplicate. And here's the a bit better resolution. Sometimes when you do something like this, you get like a sharpness, and that's because of a lot of those tools have, of course, the mesh itself has a specific resolution, but also the tools are specific alphas and specific focal shifts and all that. You can press the shift, you can actually immediately sort of. Now, we're pressing the shift key. Notice that the RGB intensity is 100. Sorry, the Z intensity is 100. So that's pretty much pretty intense. So if we want to change the intensity, we press down the shift key and take the intensity down. I'm going to take it down to like very low. So now I'm polishing the clay with using the smooth brush, and it's not destroying my contours, because when you use the clay buildup, so notice that when I use the clay buildup, I'm getting this very sharp effect. I don't really want these sharp lines, but I do want to keep the sharpness. So if I press shift, and anytime you press shift, you go to the smooth brush, and your brush turns blue. Let me press S to make this a little bit smaller now. Press shift. So the shift brush has its own settings, and I reduce the intensity, so I'm not harming this, I'm not smoothing it too much. So I'm just gonna only, with the pen, I'm just barely touching the surface. So my Wacom tablet. So I'm just really softening this edge in a very subtle way. I'm just softening this. So it's really important that you guys get acquainted with all these tools before you go into like some detailed sculpting. Not even detailed sculpting, but just only to understand how each brush works and having its kind of like specific settings. So we have an alpha here, and we could change the alpha. We could change the alpha, for instance, into something like this. Notice that now I'm getting this star shape just moving along. Now if I don't want to do that, and if I want to just create the star shape, just and punch it on the surface, then I would need to change the stroke type. So I need to use maybe the drag rectangle, and that way I'm going to drag a rectangle, and I'm going to drop that over here. Now the Z intensity is a little bit low, so I'm just going to make it a little bit. So see, now I'm just adding that because I'm using, so this is the type of stroke, that these are the strokes, and this is the alpha, that is actually a masking, it's a mask from a brush. So let's go back to this alpha. Now see, now I can actually add these rectangle shapes like that. Of course, with the Shift key, I can go and smooth all these areas out. I can go back to my freehand, which this brush came with, and I can just add, let's say, let's find another alpha. For instance, I'd like to find something more intricate for skin detail. So how can we find that? We can go to the light box and open the alpha. And here we get some interesting alpha textures. Those black and white images can be made in Photoshop. We can actually make our own alpha strokes, alpha brushes. So all these masks, they go here. So if I want to use one of them, let's say this one, I'm going to double click on it. And it's going to load into the alpha down here. Now press comma to hide this light box. And I'm going to approach this model by holding down the Option key, right click, and then let go of the Option key. And then I can start adding this detail. So this is great because you can actually use this for when you get into like detailing, you just smooth all these sides, and then you can actually add. Well, the Z intensity is maybe too much. I can just drop it down a little bit. So now you can see that I'm adding this kind of interesting detail, almost like skin. Also, one thing that I didn't mention is the fact that I did, but in a way, let's look at, not all the brushes have an alpha attached to them. So if I go back to these settings, if I go and get the standard brush, it doesn't have an alpha. So the standard brush is like kind of free of like alphas, and just it's a very normal kind of pulling and pushing clay, and that way we can actually let's sorry, change the color here. So basically, this can be actually, let's change the material just so we can see a little bit something different. Like this, use like a skin shade, so you can see you can change the material as you go. And again, I was saying that the brushes are all have their own settings. Some of them have an alpha, some of them don't. And this is the texture off. We don't need any textures. So this is my standard brush. Let's go and find another one, like again the clay buildup or the clay. This one is a different type of brush. Here's the clay. It's like almost again. This is a very common brush for adding material. It looks like I'm getting plastiline and adding it on my model. So this is kind of like more like an additive technique. And we're going to talk about brushes later on, but this is like a great brush. And you can see when it comes to using a brush, you have a specific type of stroke. And they made it that way so that brush is relevant to its function, the way that it would be in reality. But of course, these things we can change on our own and customize our brushes. In the next video, we're going to talk about how we can save these projects and how we can initialize ZBrush and go to all the default UI